You can't just be born into gold and coast. To be considered of worth by the larger gold society, you must come through the institute and then do things of worth. So what are the institutes? How do they prove the worth of gold? Friends, let's find out, and welcome to a Red Rising Law video. The institutes are schools. There are many planets, moons and asteroids where the children of gold learn how to survive, lead and conquer, giving them the tools to continue gold's role as political and military leaders within the society. There are many institutes. Most golds go to the institutes located on the planet of their birth, but a son or daughter can sometimes be sent further afield. Earth has two, one in each hemisphere. On Mars, the institute is outside the capital Aegea, and where most training is done there by the students is in a remote terraformed valley in the Valles Marineris. Now, how do you enroll in one of these schools? There is an entrance exam which tests you both on the page, assessing your thinking and intelligence, and physically. If a student scores very high and is suspected of cheating, then they are investigated by the Board of Control. You pass and you get the Arch-Governor's acceptance letter. From that point on, you can't decline. There are approximately 1,200 students tested each year. Once there, the people in charge are the proctors. They take care of the students and brief them on what the institute expects. They are also not allowed to interfere directly when a student is on trial, for example. But note the term there, directly. In other words, they can aid or hinder in other ways. These proctors are hired by the Arch-Governor of the planet for the position. Once within the institute, the students are given a house to be a member of and act for and against. Where you are put is decided by the draft. At the first stage, each student is interviewed by each proctor of the institute. From this talk, the proctor sees if the student fits the characteristics of that house. Much straighter forward than a sorting hat. After the students are taken to a large room in groups, about the size of 100. Inside this room, large boxes make a grid and are shown along the wall. A student will enter one of those boxes and will be presented with a number of letters and numbers that are linked to the stats in front of them, and students are further interviewed by the alumni of each house. These people are known as drafters, and they select the students from each group until 100 have been chosen for the drafter's house. Proctors use the results of their interviews to support certain students, but the drafters have the final say. Those chosen early in the process are called high drafts, and later low drafts. There are those there, the low drafts in question, who are not expected to live long. And some within this group, dubbed premiers, can skip the drafting process completely. Their chosen houses will be decided by their presumably powerful parents. The student who leads each house is dubbed the primus. This position is measured on merit, acts of merit in fact. You can get this from a number of actions such as recapturing a house's standard. When you get 5 of these merits, you are primus and can gain further merit as the primus by leading your house to victory against the others. Then you're the arch primus. Then there is the next part of the test, and one of my favourite parts of the institute, the passage. On the first night you enter the institute, students are woken from their beds by obsidians. They're a type of colour within the society, a warrior race that worship the golds. The obsidians beat the students after midnight, and they are then taken to the actual camp from which they will prove themselves. They are moved there by ship with a hood over their heads that blocks out the noises around them. Then at the main campus, the students are taken to a room below the house's castle, and there they are paired with a classmate from their house, and told by the proctor that only one of them will walk away from the room. Brutal gold tactics, real survival of the fittest stuff. Now these matchups are determined by their entrance exam scores, with high ones facing lower ranked ones. But this does not always lead to advantages, A low draft can still kill a high. The idea behind the passage is a way developed by the Board of Quality Control to reinforce natural selection, so only those who possess the true qualities of gold and will be the future leaders of the society will come through, as well as the shared trauma of taking a life, which the students may not all have faced before. This will bond the houses through that shared guilt. Those who come through the passage are often allowed entry into the house's castle. They are gathered and told the point of the passage by the proctor. Then they get told what the expectations of them to succeed are in the institute. The students then must engage in a mock war. The students at each house will fight and dominate each other, using all they have to hand. They are watched by proctors and are rewarded for the successes. A way this is measured is the standard each house has, which are to be captured. If it touches the forehead of a student from a rival house, then they are a slave to the house that has captured them. They must obey till they are hopefully freed or let loose on graduation. The proctors themselves watch the war games through nanocams. The footage from the nanocams are smartly given a half-day delay for editing purposes before being released to drafters and the peerless alumni, so they can know who they might want to recruit. Though the idea is for these students to rise through merit, the power of the families involved means some parts can be rigged to favour the children of prominent families. The proctors watch from on high. On Mars, this is an artificial mountain known as Olympus that floats 2 kilometres in the sky, and at the top of this mountain sits a citadel made of marble. So what does it take to graduate, to win this process? You must be in the house that wins, that is unconquered but has dominated the others. At this point, the best students become peerless scarred, that's a great name, and ascend within the ranks of gold through a patron. The patrons choose their students based on their performance. Graduation is given by the Arch-Governor to each of those who will be named peerless scarred. When this is done, a scar is cut into each student's cheek with their razor. That's the weapon of gold. But what about the institutes in the wider society? Is it something that is secret, or is it something that is widely known? How the institutes work across the society is a secret. This is to aid the Board of Quality Control, so those who succeed throughout their trials in the institute can do so on merit rather than because they are well connected amongst existing powerful families. To help with this policy, even the children of the institute's alumni are kept in the dark until they arrive at the school, though I can't imagine some of the parents not telling their children a little to give them an edge over the others. You do get a sense of the schools. For example, the Institute on Mars is well known around this society for its violence and brutality, with dark acts taking place between several of the students there. And another, the IO Institute, is the most brutal to attend, with very harsh terrain to contest against each other over, harrowing weather, and a longer than usual period of war. And on that note, we'll wrap up this short series of videos on Red Rising. I think after enjoying these, I will do more in the future. It's one of the favourite sci-fi series I've read in the last 5 years, I would say, with The Expanse and Sun Eater involved in that as well. The series has great action, rounded characters from all colours, and a great concept of a red trying to aspire into the ranks of gold, and how that affects the structure of the society as a whole. It's 6 books at the moment, with one more to come soon, hopefully. The first 3 can be read as a standalone, with the second, Golden Sun, being, for me, where it really comes into its own. I can tell it's a good series because I've read through it a few times, despite it being pretty dense when you're reading them all together. Anyway, I'll end my rambling outro and wrap up today's video for you there.